First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be possible. Low Nose Boxing. Hit the like button, share the video, leave a comment, subscribe. I want to talk about the potential greatness, the potential immortality that Terence Crawford would receive if he were to pull off what I would feel would be the biggest win ever in the sport of boxing. And I already know what y'all gonna say. Oh, how can you say that? That would be the biggest win ever. There's been so many wins. You're absolutely right. And you already know how I carry it. You know that I'm a historian. You know that I pride myself on boxing knowledge to bring you up to speed. That's why I'm Low Nose Boxing, the past, the present, and the future of boxing, right? I'm going to talk about some of the biggest wins ever in boxing, and I'm going to compare that to what Terence Crawford's win would mean for his legacy, right? Roberto Duran moved up from 135 pounds after already cementing his legacy as arguably the greatest lightweight of all time. He moved up to 147 and defeated Sugar Ray Leonard, right? Terence Crawford moving up and defeating Canelo Alvarez might be bigger than Roberto Duran beating Sugar Ray Leonard. Even though Sugar Ray Leonard at the time was undefeated, unlike Canelo Alvarez, Sugar Ray Leonard was in his 20s, unlike Canelo Alvarez, right? And Sugar Ray Leonard was an Olympic gold medalist, a fighter who eventually had the type of career where, in many people's eyes, including mine, Sugar Ray Leonard is a top 5 all-time great, along with Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran was 29 years old when he moved up to defeat a 23 or 24-year-old Sugar Ray Leonard at the time, right? But if Terence Crawford were to move up from 154 to 168 and defeat Canelo Alvarez, that would be a bigger win. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he would be moving up 2 weight classes, right? Roberto Duran, even though he did move up 2 weight classes, but along the way, Roberto Duran had some acclamation fights between 140 and 147. He had about probably 5 or 6 fights before fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, right? It doesn't take away from his victory, because for me, right now, Roberto Duran's victory over Sugar Ray Leonard is the biggest win in boxing that any fighter's ever had, right? But Terence Crawford to move up from 154 to defeat Canelo Alvarez. And we had a lot of champions in the past that moved up weight classes, but to move up and beat a champion that is not only bigger than you, but nearly as skilled as you, and a fighter that is a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. And Terence Crawford, mind you, is 36 or 37 years old. That would be huge, because Canelo Alvarez is a fighter that himself has moved up. He started his career at 140 pounds. He won his first title at 154. And Canelo Alvarez, even though his knockouts had slowed down, he's still hurting and knocking down notably bigger guys. Guys like Edgar Berlanga that was damn near 200 pounds when they was in that ring. You know what I mean? So that's a threat, because Canelo Alvarez is not just a fighter that has power. Canelo Alvarez has skills. In my opinion, Canelo Alvarez has better defense than Terence Crawford, and he's a hell of a counterpuncher. Let's talk about other noteworthy fights, wins, right? Roy Jones Jr. moving up to heavyweight to defeat John Ruiz, definitely one of the biggest wins ever in boxing. Roy Jones Jr. was the super middleweight champion. First, he was a middleweight champion, and eventually he moved up to heavyweight to defeat John Ruiz. He went from light heavyweight straight to heavyweight, which is a feat at the time that was not ever accomplished for a long, long time prior to that. But, all due respect, John Ruiz, even though he was a champion, he wasn't the top dog. He wasn't the man in the division. The man was Lennox Lewis. So if Roy Jones Jr. would have moved up and defeated Lennox Lewis instead of a John Ruiz, I would say that Roy Jones Jr. had the biggest win ever in boxing, but he didn't. Another big win, James Toney moving up to defeat John Ruiz. Once again, John Ruiz is not Lennox Lewis. And John Ruiz was already defeated by Roy Jones Jr., right? Another interesting win. Floyd Mayweather moving up to 154 pounds for the second time in his career from 147 to defeat Canelo Alvarez. At the time and to this day, there's naysayers that criticize that win and say that Canelo Alvarez had to meet him at a catch weight. Canelo Alvarez was green, young, and inexperienced, but nevertheless, Canelo Alvarez turned out to be a first ballot Hall of Fame, even though he hasn't retired yet. But we all know that he is going to be a Hall of Famer someday. Canelo Alvarez went on to, in my opinion, and in many opinions, surpass Julio Cesar Chavez as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. So Floyd Mayweather defeating Canelo Alvarez, I'm not going to take anything away from that win whatsoever. However, if Terence Bud Crawford defeats Canelo Alvarez, he's going to defeat Canelo Alvarez while Canelo Alvarez is the legend that he is right now. Not before he became that great, but at the highest level. Even though Canelo is no longer in his prime, he's still very, very formidable, and he is definitely the best fighter in his weight class, right? Now, I'm not saying Terence Crawford is going to pull that off, but if Terence Crawford were to pull that off, for me, that would be the biggest win ever in boxing, and I would have to place Terence Crawford somewhere within the top 5 or top 10 greatest fighters of all time. Anyway, with that being said, hit the like button, share the video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, Low Nose Boxing, because Low Nose Boxing.